Welcome, guys, to the Bazsy Talk Show. Today's episode, we are talking to the real music directors, and I'll just, I know these guys, amazing guys, but I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Brother Frank.
Hey, I'm Frank from All Nations. I am with the music department, obviously called the VOJ Ministry in All Nations, New Jersey.
I am Michael Turkson, and I'm the music director for Living Faith International Ministries, New York.
Hello, everyone. I'm Danny Toffee, the music director for PIWC Columbus, VOG, Voices of Glory.
Hi, what's up, family? I'm Junior Boateng. I'm also music director for a few organizations here and there, and I'm happy to be here.
Hello, my name is Niall. I'm a music director for Team Eternity, vocal producer, vocal coach. Yeah. And I also worship at Winners Chapel International, Ghana.
Awesome. So I'm happy to have you guys on board, and thank you guys so much. Junior, church. You didn't mention your church.
Oh, sorry. So I fellowship at Rhema Gospel Church International, where my pastor is Sopho Boateng.
Okay. Awesome. So the first question, who is a music director? Would you guys consider a music director? I'm going to ask Brother Frank. Would you consider a music director?
Oh boy. Well, yeah, that's a heavy question. Implicitly, you probably might want to categorize that into different segments. I'll probably say the human capital aspect of it. So human capital deficiency, and then you have the talent management aspect of it. And while I'm saying that, I don't want to displace the fact of what it means to first be a music director. In most instances, obviously, majority of who of us are aliens and or immigrants. You happen to find yourself in places where the demand for musicians are very low. So, you visit a church and you're able to, play a chord here and there. And because there's no musician, you become the musician. Now, obviously, when the church starts to grow, you are, in fact, you can be an acclaimed music director. On the other respect, we have other sentiments when it comes to, how the functionality of a music director is placed. So then in any event, that is a job that you can actually go out there and apply to. So as in other words, when it comes to the human capital aspect of it, I'm only a music director because of availability, because of the scarce humanity or better yet talent that we have in the church. The other respect is that the pastor actually went out and sourced for a music director. So then the talent management perspective is now coming in. Generally, both actually work because obviously the Bible says, I will build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail. So if God can use rocks to worship him, then obviously if somebody with music inclination, not as, vital as we musicians might call it, you can definitely, sub in to be the music director. But in any event, a music director is somebody who understands the sensitivity of the Holy Spirit, but then also conglomerating that with the skillfulness, because the Bible talks about, playing with skills as David did, and then also studying to show yourself approved. So kind of conglomerating the two together in respect of understanding that God can also be given good music. So you're involved with all the music technicalities, the music technologies. You're also involved in all of the audio aspect of things. So typically your assignment become gradually the forefront of the ministry, as in other words, you are coordinating with not just, you know, the choirs or the musicians, but then also with the audio guys, and in some instances, even with the pastor.
You know, like my brother Frank said, he said a lot, and you know, I just want to take, I guess, a bit of a practical perspective. Yeah, I know, like he gave a perspective from like a ministerial standpoint, and you know, even from like an organizational standpoint, and you know, I like to kind of even to break it down to as simple as even working with maybe like an artist or something. You know, the music director basically bridges the gap between I'll call them team members. So team members and artists. Team members consist of, you know, musicians, instrumentalists, singers, you know, anyone involved in the audio side of things. So the music director basically does the best that he can to basically present a representation of the artist's mind and beyond. What do I mean by that? So, let's say if I'm working with a gospel singer, you know, there's a certain sound that needs to be formed, and you know, there has to be someone who organizes everything. There has to be someone who puts the necessary pieces in play. There has to be someone who can, you know, hold people accountable for things. There has to be someone who draws out some kind of plan, you know, and that's where the music director comes in. And you know, like I said, it goes beyond just, okay, this is what I think the artist likes. Boom. You know, you have to be a problem solver. You have to think ahead of, you know, the situations that you're up against. Sometimes there are certain things that the artist that you're working with, you know, hasn't even considered. But as a music director, you should be able to think ahead and start even putting some of these things in place. That way, you know, when it gets there, you know, you already have the whole team prepared. You know, so you know the job of music director, it's a very detailed one. It's definitely a very detailed one, and you know, it takes a special kind of person to, you know, to be able to do it. You know, obviously, one is, I'll say, born a music director, so to speak. But there are certain traits and characteristics that you can go in and develop on the way. But it's a very detailed task and role.
So let me just sum up what Junior said, right? So it's basically the one who is in charge of any music production in any setting, wherever you are. So if you are the music director for the church, you are basically the one in charge of producing music, whatever it entails. That's you. If you are in with an artist and you are the music director, you are the one that is in charge of the production. Period. You understand? So that's what it is. The music director is the one that is in charge of the production of the music for wherever he is.
Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to ask Danny, how do you think the relationship with, you know, in this case, we are going to make it a little broad and not limited to just the church. It could be with an artist. What should be the relationship? You know, if you're in a church and you're a music director, what would you say the relationship should be between the music director and the pastor, or the music director and the artist?
Okay, so I think it's important to have a good relationship with both the pastor and the artist. For the artist standpoint first, the artist has to have a vision, and you're basically helping the artist, you know, in the musical standpoint, come up with things together, come up with the right arrangement, with the right team at times, who, you know, the right vocalist, the right instrumentalist, and all that, in order to produce whatever they have in excellence. So I think it's important to have a good relationship, because, I mean, if you don't have a good relationship with a person, you won't, you know, do things just out of doing them. Like, you won't really feel like, you know, you won't see the necessity in, you know, the job that you've been given to do. And then in terms of having a good relationship with your pastor, it's definitely very important. That's your spiritual covering. If you're, the music director for a church, you need to be on the same page as the pastor, with, his sermons, with all of that. You don't want to, be singing about grace and he's preaching about, something totally different. So it's good to, have that good relationship in order to be able to work effectively, and work in excellence, I feel like.
Thank you so much. Still on relationships, Nayao, I know you deal with like a team. And so what is your relationship like with your team members?
Okay, so as I said, with the artist and the pastor, it's so true. Like you're working with an artist, you need to have like a personal relationship with the artist, because most of the times the artist has, especially with the gospel artists, they work in spirit, and most of the times they are directed by the Holy Spirit to do something. So you need to be close to the artist to know where the artist is going, for you to create the music according to the artist's understanding. Even creating the music, you have to understand, is this artist good enough to interpret this type of music we are producing for him? Can he sing with this type of genre? Can he do this stuff very well? So it's very important to know the artist, to know what he can do best, his strength and his weaknesses. So when you are composing the song, you know that, okay, he can deliver or not. With the pastor to the same thing, it's excellent. You have to be in sync with the pastor. But with the groups, it's very important to have a personal relationship with all your members. It's you'll be surprised that members members of the choir group will just assume that the music director should know that he or she is sick. That when I was sick, the music director didn't call, the music director didn't check up on me, and that member will be offended because of just that little thing. But most of the times, I always say, we the music directors, we are not magicians. We don't know if you are sick, you are depressed or something. But sometimes you need us. Maybe we can follow up and check out all that. But it's very important to know each and every individual, especially in my case, when I patch you from a gig or when I patch you from a session, those are the times I'm even closer to you most, so that I don't lose a friendship. You are not good enough for this particular gig. You are not playing what I want you to play. I'm not singing what I want you to sing, but I still don't lose. I try my possible best not to lose the relationship. And I also try my possible best to let you know the reason why you are not being one of the things I realized that spoils a lot of relationship in groups is when we patch musicians, when we patch singers because they're not good enough for this particular session. We do not really communicate to them well. We don't really tell them the weaknesses while we are doing that. But we actually we address it with other musicians. Like, oh, this guy this year we're not gonna make it play sake of challenge, timing be bad or something. But we don't really address it to the individuals. So it gives them this stigma that we have favorites. We want to play with this particular people. We want to sing with this particular people, and that person feels that it's because of we like this particular people. But most of the times, it's because of your style or one or two issues with you. That's how come you're not playing with you. So it's very important that even when you patch someone, you let the person know. You make sure that the friendship is still there. We can still be friends. We are still friends. We are still brothers and sisters. So that's what I personally do when you are not good enough for something at that particular time. I still try my possible best to keep the friendship.
Okay. Oh, thank you. This is wow. It's just 2 questions, and I'm learning a lot. So I think after this, I'm going to apply for a music director's position. if I can do it. But I think one of the areas that I, for one, want to know is, as a music director, do you, and this is personal, do you agree in auditions or not, especially when it comes to churches? Do you think that there should be auditions? Should there be any I'm going to ask Brother Michael.
I knew this question was coming to me. All right, so yeah, because I know him, So all right, so let's go back. I want to address the relationship between the pastor and music director, and I'm going to move forward to the auditions. All right, so when you are, I think the relationship of a music director and a pastor is very important, right? One, I believe you should have a professional relationship, but then it's always good to have like this personal relationship as well. But then what you need to be careful about is the personal relationship, because sometimes it gets to a point and I think it gets overboard a little bit. So you need to have a balance of the personal relationship and the professional relationship. All right. But then when you go into the church, the first thing you need to ask for is the manifesto for the music department of the church. That's the first thing you need to ask. Because I say that because whatever, like Danny said, so Danny is the one that's bringing me to this point, right? Like Danny was saying, you need to be on the same page with the pastor and all that. How are you on the same page with the pastor in terms of like complete music in the house? You need that manifesto. It's going to tell you, so that the manifesto, first of all, is supposed to tell you the structure of the music, what the pastor wants, and how the music department and everything is structured. And then you abide by that. You work within those lines. But let's say you go in and you don't have any guidance. You are just working on top of your head, right? Whatever comes to mind, you do it. You feel is right, you do it. And the pastor might not be looking for that. Now, if the pastor don't have one, I think it's wise for you to sit down with the pastor and make one up to the auditions. Yes, auditions are very, very important. Now, you also have to understand that a church setting is different from you managing an artist. So let's say, even though the main aim is to have excellence in the music department, you have to understand where you are and operate within that. So let's say if you have the manifesto for the church, you abide by that. So what does the manifesto say about auditions? Okay, when I audition somebody and they are maybe like, I see that they are like 50% good, maybe I take them, or maybe I have to look for somebody who's like 80% of what I think the requirement should be. So you work within that. But in as much as I would say the spiritual aspect of what we do in church is very important, right? You cannot ignore the talent as well. Let's say somebody comes in and they are not talented, but sometimes you are forced to put them in the choir. Pastor is going to tell you, oh, I want this person to be in the choir. Mm-hmm. So you know that the person is not good. The person is not good. This person cannot be in the choir. That one apple is going to destroy the 99 that you have going if you put that one apple in there. So this way you probably have to go back to the pastor and tell the pastor, Osofu, please, this one person you're asking me to put in the choir, I auditioned the person. The person is not good enough to be in the choir, and these are the reasons. And let the pastor also tell you his reasons why he wants the person to be in the choir.
Brother Frank, I have this question for you. The question here is, music directors, is it your responsibility to develop talents in the team? Like,
oh wow, that's a heavy question. So let's look at it from this respect, right? I think every church has a paradigm but then we have misconstrued that aptitude, if I could say so. So every church preach about excellence. So we want excellence. There's actually my church. We talk about our worship, our priority. Because we try to kind of blend music creativity into an offering, of authentic worship. So when it comes to that theory aspect of it, I think we all have an acclimated behavior of kind of quoting stuff to you. The practical aspect can be very challenging. Just picking back on what Michael just said. First of all, it's not in the music director's interest to develop talent. The reason I say that, it can be very subjective. Now, the subjectivity has to come in play of, right now we are dissecting into a music director as a ministry in a ministry setting and that of a music director in the artist setting. Now, thank goodness we are in Corona right now, right? So a music director is more of playing the pragmatic aspect of leadership, not just giving directives here. Hey guys, somebody needs to play the keyboard here. Hey, somebody needs to play the bass here. As a music director, you're probably stepping in, making sure production for Sunday is good to go, making sure who is actually going to be available for you to record. So when you put all of that in play, there is this constricted aptitude of having to have another time to develop a talent. Now, I said it again, it can be very objective. You have someone who can sing beautifully, but then they're probably introverts, so to speak. I'm shy. I don't know if I'm ready yet. I'm not too sure. There's a lot on my plate here and there. Now, in that aspect, I think you already talked. That particular talent you can actually develop.